It's not too much jewelry, is it? I don't want to gild the lily and look like a... Oh, hey! Hi! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 5, Episode 1. And before we get started, I just want to send out a fabulous thank you to the PayPal tippers this week. My pal tippers. Tipper pals. Oh, my tipper pals. To my tipper pals. Deanne Timms, hello, thank you. John Dwyer, you filthy bastard. Nicholas Bourne, again, thank you. Derek Hopi. Aldona Kakzowski. Now, I'm going to say that I said that right. Aldona. If I didn't say your last name right, well, I can't help myself. There's a lot of consonants and very few vowels. Leon Pluimakers, again, you stop it. Vito Bocuzzi. I'm going to say Bocuzzi. I grew up in a Greek neighborhood. I'm not good with Italian. Bocuzzi or Bocuzzi? I'm going to say Bocuzzi. Nancy Simpson, there's a simple name, God bless. Not a simple lady, though, I'm serious. And Junket Vintage. Thank you, dolls. That was very generous of you. I also want to send a shout out to Kimmy Middleton. I was talking to her, maybe now 2 weeks ago. Ooh, I feel bad, Kimmy. But we were talking about the fact that you live in Michigan, and there were 3 dams breached all in the same week near where you live. You were fine. You were on high ground. You told me your family was good. But, I mean, it just sounded horrible. Like, there's not enough in the world to contend with. So, my thoughts are out to you. I hope that that's all been rectified, that nobody suffered any electricity loss or access to the rest of the world. And hopefully you're doing good, Kimmy. That said, well, let's get to it. Jorge! Drink me! Ooh, look at you. Is this the drink that I talked to you about? Oh my God, you guys. On YouTube, I was talking to Bobby Drake, and he was saying that, I think it's, good grief. They were saying, what if Bobby's a girl? No, I think it's spelled with a Y. Bobby, God bless. You gave me a great idea for cocktails, so I told Jorge about it. This is the Manila Luzon. I figured in honor of All Stars, and nobody's lost it more than her yet, but I thought this would be a good drink. This is basically, for me anyway, I chose Coke Zero because I assume Manila Luzon and all her sleek hungriness probably drinks a Coke Zero, or I don't know about that Coke, and vanilla vodka, therefore the Vanilla Luzon. Vanilla-y. So let's get to it. Well, such a dramatic start to this season of All-Stars. I'm so serious. All of that pomp and circumstance, and how in 2016 they changed the rules of All-Stars. Well, calm down. It had only been on one season before, so you weren't really changing anything. We weren't used to anything yet. And second of all, they had to change the rules because the first season of All-Stars sucked. I mean, I enjoyed seeing the girls and watching them go through their paces, but teams? Teams? What were they thinking? Personally, I think that first All-Stars season was World of Wonder apologizing to Chad Michaels for Sharon Needles winning season 4. So, with that said, in a year that's already pulled the rug right out from underneath us, Ru announced that they were going to change the All-Stars rules again. Well, they had to. Ben de la creme. So with that pot bubbling away on Ru's stove, the Ruvolution began with Miss Shea Coulee strutting her fine self into that workroom. God, I missed her. She was such a gracious competitor on her season. Do you remember what she had to contend with? Nina Benina Brown and the whole Black China incident, and then Aja and the whole Grandrea Zucker woman incident. The thing I loved about Shea was that she was one of those queens that never stirred the pot, but she wasn't afraid to stick her spoon in there if she had to. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm expecting very good things from Shea this season, seriously. And Shea did so well on season 9, right up until the finale. I mean, she won 4 challenges, which is the most wins ever, and puts her in tie with Sharon Needles and now Gigi Good. But I have to say, listening to her talk about what it felt like to lose after all that season, that she felt like a disappointment, it broke my heart because it was disappointing for sure. But Shea Coulee is no disappointment. I mean, I don't think that anybody could have survived Sasha's Roses. Just saying. It was good. Ms. Cracker was next through the workroom doors, and as far as her showing on season 10, I feel like RuPaul said it best. She was far too interested in controlling how everyone saw her. I mean, seriously, she just needed to let it all hang out. So I, for one, am very excited to see Ms. Cracker let it all hang. I know it sounds terrible, but I mean on the catwalk, seriously. Next through the workroom doors from season 3 and All Stars 1, my drag crush, Miss Alexis Mateo. And all I can say for the mother of Ms. Vanjie is my adoration for her can be summed up in her own words. It's Alexis's world, the rest is parking. I love that. Here's to you, Alexis, seriously. If only I had a car. Next into the workroom, well, at first I didn't even know who it was. It was Blair St. Clair from season 10. I have to say, I'm always so shocked at how much older she looks in drag. And I don't mean old like Tempest du Jour old. I mean, you know, older than the felony waiting to happen that she usually rocks out of drag. I'm just saying. And did you see those new lips? Wow, I bet you they help her out a lot. I mean, in the confidence department. But I have to say, I was impressed with my drag crush Alexis Mateo saying that she wasn't impressed by Blair and that she predicted that she would crack under the pressure. There you go. Mark it down. Alexis Mateo called it. Just saying. Fifth through the workroom doors was Mariah Paris Balenciaga, a.k.a. the Queen of AKAs, a.k.a. legendary member of the House of Balenciaga, a.k.a. the creator of the worst Joan Crawford impersonation ever. All I have to say is, if there's a Snatch Game, what if? There's always a Snatch Game. When there's a Snatch Game this season, if Mariah Paris Balenciaga does not redeem herself by doing Joan Crawford again, I'll be so disappointed. I mean, seriously, it would take no effort for her at all to make it better than it was on her season. I mean, all she'd have to do is ditch the wooden hanger and pick up a wire one, and already it's 100% better than hers. Seriously. Do you know what I thought was sad about India Farah's entrance? I mean, other than that sad Charlotte's Web moment on her back. The fact that she had her face covered, and then when she revealed it, they still didn't know who the hell she was. They were all like, I mean, they seemed to be more interested in the fact that she and Ms. Cracker were wearing the same color, which I have to say is a big step up from season 3 when she walked in wearing the same outfit as Phoenix. Do you remember Phoenix, old Stinkface? No one does. All I have to say is that India Farah lasts a couple more episodes longer than Phoenix, so watch out, Ms. Cracker, seriously. Next, through the workroom doors from season 2 and All Stars 1, one of my favorites, the legendary Jujubee, who was hoping that this third time would be the charm. Tell that to Manila Luzon. Oh. And then Derek Barry walked into the workroom, and the best thing about her whole entrance had to be Shea Coulee's woo! Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't like Derek Barry, it's just that she was so antagonistic on season 8 that she made it hard for me to like her. But I will say this, I was surprised that she had any idea who India Farah was, never mind that she had history with her. I'm so serious. And from the way things look, it looks like she may have a replacement for Bob the Drag Queen in the Nemesis department, just saying. Next was Mayhem the Drama Miller, and I'll believe that when I see it. No offense to Mayhem. I mean, I remember her on season 10. She was this big deal that all the other queens were afraid of. And short of winning that first challenge, she progressively became more meh during her season. I'm just saying. I hope she brings it this season. I hope whatever held her back or whatever reason that kept her from really sparkling is gone. And we all need to put on shades. I'm just saying. And last through the workroom doors, but certainly not least, from season 1, RuPaul's original bald queen, Ongina. And gee whiz, she looked good. Not only was her costume the most elaborate one of the whole group, I mean, fairly impractical, but just stunning. But I don't think she's aged at all. I hate her. But before the queens could get settled, there was Ru with this week's mini challenge. But first, well, an announcement. She had changes for season 5, and they were a-coming right here and now. She let the queens know that every queen in the cast would be voting for who they will want to go each week. The Revolution has become a roomocracy. I'm so serious. But how that would affect the lip sync and the playing of the game, well, that was going to be announced later because the library was open. That's right, it was mini challenge time. But when Ru called for the pit crew, in walked Ricky Martin, wearing a little more than I would like to see him in. You see that so much. Can he wear that all the time? Seriously, if I had been there when Ricky Martin walked in, I would have pushed Alexis Mateo out of the way by her face. Seriously. I bet he smells nice. To warm the queens up as if he wasn't making them hot enough, Ricky read Ru in Spanish, and then they pretended to slap the hell out of each other, which was so hot I passed out. But when I came to, well, the queens were reading each other to filth. Some more than others. The queens that really stood out for me were Jujubee when she told Mariah that her being on the show would have to have them change it from All Stars to Some Stars, and calling Mayhem Miller Mayhem Miller. I don't think her fat joke for Alexis Mateo was as funny as it should have been, but good for her for trying, I'm just saying. Cracker just about killed me telling India she doesn't like to kick a man while she's down, and telling Blair that she doesn't read anyone she doesn't respect. And then didn't. So funny. Blair St. Clair surprised the heck out of me. She went in deep. First telling Derek Barry that the queens on her season didn't think she was a real queen because she couldn't paint and all she could do was Britney. And she said she didn't agree with them. She didn't think she could do Britney at all. She also told Mariah Paris Balenciaga that the only reason that her career has movement is because the earth is spinning on its axis. And then she said India Farah and then waited for everyone to Google her. So funny. There were 2 honorable mentions for me. The first was India Farah saying to Mayhem Miller that when she looks at her, well, she's reminded that it's 5 o'clock somewhere. The other honorable mention, I have to say, was Derek Barry. I thought that when she went in for India Farah out of the gate, that it was funny, that whole piranha and teeth thing. But then she made it personal, and it became weird and uncomfortable. Which is one of the reasons why I find her hard to like, seriously. So who won the mini challenge? Well, it was a tie between Jujubee and Blair St. Clair, the oldest and the youngest. I thought that that was very sweet. Kind of passing of the torch or a lit match so they can burn people. Blah, blah. Yeah. And then Ru told them what this week's main challenge was. It was a variety show. This time around, though, it was the Work the World Variety Extravaganza. So the queens got to it. They unpacked, and as they were doing that, they started to wonder about this whole voting thing and how it was going to change the season, if at all, seriously. Well, almost everybody. Alexis and Angina seemed way more interested in finding out what the tea was between India and Derek. Basically, suffice to say, somebody called somebody fat and no one was mature enough to apologize. I mean, seriously, what are most fights between drag queens about? But here's what I find telling. When Angina went and asked Derek what her side of the story was, Derek said something along the lines of, well, India likes to come for the girls from each season. Well, I don't know if that's true, so I have no opinion on that. But what I did find interesting was, for one reason or another, Angina says, well, you're a mean girl. And Derek said that she wants to be Regina George. I don't think that that's a personality you should aspire to emulate when you're seeking to be part of a show that influences and inspires not just people in general, but young people as well. I mean, as an adult, we can filter out what people are saying, but no offense to the youngsters out there, but a lot of them don't understand, and I'm talking young kids, because young kids watch RuPaul's Drag Race, like younger than a teenager, and I just hope they're watching them with their parents. Sometimes a parent needs to be there. I'm just saying. So when the queens finally actually did get down to getting ready for the show, well, they still were talking about Derek and India. And I have to say, I think that must have been nice for India. You know, being talked about at all. But before India and Derek could get too far into it, it was time for the queens to haul their cookies to the runway for the main event. Rue looked titillating in turquoise, I have to say, and joining Michelle, Ross, and Carson on the judging panel was the very titillating Ricky Martin, still a little overdressed. And then it was time for the Work the World extravaganza, and I would just like to start off by saying, some of these queens worked the world a little harder than others, but none harder than Alexis Mateo. What a great way to start the show. Everything. I love the reveal, the costume underneath, the dancing. She rocked that number out. Plus, it was an original song that she was lip syncing to. It was her own voice. So I just was very impressed. Alexis Mateo won 3 challenges her season of Drag Race, and she won the most challenges of her season. This is a queen that I think if any of the other queens aren't afraid of, then they are just setting themselves up for disappointment. And I think that Alexis's opening number not only proved that, but it also set the bar very high for the rest of the queens. Seriously. Shay was next, and her talent, working the pole. And I'm not talking about Ricky Martin's, although he did seem to get pretty worked up anyway. Mayhem Miller's original song started out well. I mean, those contacts were money well spent, but it just seemed to just deteriorate from there. And she lost everyone during that rap, but in her defense, I think she lost herself too. She seemed to forget the words or was trying to catch up to. It was very jarbled and, unfortunately, a real letdown. Seriously. Next was Mariah Paris Balenciaga, and I'm just going to say this was the best number in the whole show. Hands down. I think one of the reasons that it didn't win was maybe because the judges thought that the audience was quiet during it, but because an audience is quiet doesn't mean they're not entertained. They're focused. Her piece was so poignant and so moving to and relevant to now, what's going on in America, even though it was filmed last year. But this is proof that this issue of race equality has always been a problem. The fact that anything race related over the last 10 years could be applied right now to what's happening right now just shows us all that we have ignored this for far too long. So here's to everyone fighting the fight. Seriously. Ms. Cracker was next, and her comedy number picked the room right back up. It was high energy. She was dressed like a pickle off the top. What's not to like? But one thing that I was really impressed with was once she started moving around, she really reminded me of Ben de la Creme. She had that whole little showgirl 50s pinup thing down. And seriously, I mean, Ben de la Creme, if you're listening, she could be. We're like this. This is me. But if you're looking for a sister act or you want to cast somebody as your sister in something, give Cracker a call. Well, unless she wins All Stars 5, and then she might be too busy. Just saying. The only one who didn't seem to like Cracker's performance was India Farah, who really just in general seemed to be getting down on herself over all the girls' performances. She clearly was afraid she was going to be outshone. Seriously. Blair St. Clair was gorgeous for her original song performance, and short of a little pony flip, it was a pretty low-energy song. I mean, next time I think she should sing something a body could tap a toe to. I'm just saying. I still have absolutely no idea what Angina was doing. All she seemed to be doing was changing outfits and dancing, but I have to tell you, I had no trouble watching it. She looked like she was having a hoot. Just saying. Derek Barry was next with his stunning array of impersonations. Well, maybe 2. Maybe there were 2 impersonations. I mean, for me, the only one that really seemed to work was the Lady Bunny off the top. But let's just be clear. You don't even have to do a good Lady Bunny impersonation to sound like Lady Bunny. I mean, have we all forgotten Alaska during Snatch Game? Seriously. Jujubee sang an original song beautifully and more than redeemed herself after that poor showing during the live singing number for her on season 3. I'm just saying. And then India Farah closed the whole show out by dancing her butt off. Well, she also lip-synced to her original song, Drag Is Not a Contact Sport. And it was just so well referenced to her brief moment with Mimi, I'm First. It's such an iconic moment. Even if you didn't see that season, you've heard about it, you know. That was also the season with the drink throwing. And it was a mess. It was a mess, I tell you. But India, wow, she danced that number out and ended in a perfect slide to the edge of the stage. And she was afraid that the other queens were going to outshine her. Seriously. So there was no runway this week, just critiques. But before the judges could sink their teeth in, Rue wanted to fully explain how the All-Stars rules were being suspended. This season, Rue is only picking one top queen per episode. And that queen will have to lip sync against a secret lip sync assassin. Now, if that queen wins against the assassin, then she gets a $10,000 tip, and whoever she picked to go home goes home. But if the lip sync assassin wins, well, remember when all the queens had to vote? Well, whoever got the vote from those queens of the queens in the bottom was the name that the secret assassin would read. Well, safe this week, Blair St. Clair, Juju B, Shea Coulee, and Mariah Balenciaga, which I am going to say again, I can't believe she didn't win. I can't believe she didn't win, and neither, I think, could Ricky Martin, because before the queens left the stage, she thanked her personally for her performance and let her know just how moved he was by it. So here's to you, Mariah, impressing Ricky. Well, everyone loved Miss Cracker's performance, especially Ricky Martin, but he seemed more interested in her phallic entrance. Of course, I could say the same thing about Ricky Martin, just saying. Another fave of the judges was Alexis Mateo, who did such a good job that Michelle Visage was willing to overlook her woman Chiels, stones or no. Speaking of Michelle, I am so glad that she brought up India Farah's quitting drag. She did that right after her season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race, and it was a terrible, I remember reading about it. It just broke my heart, and I have to say, I think that it addressed some of the issues that Derek has had regarding India over the years. Possibly. I don't know. Next in the hot seat was, well, Derek Barry, who... Did he look like he was close to tears to you? Because he just looked, I don't know, I think between knowing that she didn't do the best and knowing India killed it, and then India having that honest moment on stage with Michelle, like, I think the writing was on the wall for Derek. I think at that point he was like, ugh, this is not going to go well for me. And it was making him emotional. This is the thing about bullies that I always find sad, is as mean as they are, they're always meaner on themselves. And I think in those moments of pathos, that's when they get emotional or let their emotions break through, because they're so guarded and so protected. And I just feel badly for Derek. I really do, because I don't think in his heart he's a mean girl. I just don't think the competitions are the best environment for her. Just saying. I think that Ross said it best when he told Derek that he would much rather watch her be herself than watch her impersonate other people. Same critiques, different season. Oops, she did it again. All the judges seem to agree that Mayhem Miller's performance went nowhere. Fast, and not as fast as they would have liked. And they all blamed it on her rap. Her diction was terrible, they couldn't understand it, it was a letdown all around. And as far as Angina's performance went, well, the judges all wanted more. She gave them the bare minimum, smile on her face or not. So, when it was all said and done, of the queens that were left, I wasn't surprised that India Farah was the top queen of the week. And who were the bottom queens, you ask? Well, Derek Barry and Mayhem Miller. Now, I know that there are a couple of you out there who felt that Angina should have been in the bottom. But the big difference for me between Angina's performance and Mayhem and Derek's is that I actually liked what Angina did. So the queens retired to the untucked lounge where they brought the safe queens up to speed. Derek and Miss Cracker were very surprised to hear that Angina wasn't in the bottom, but in her own defense, Angina said she'd been in her head all week. And then Blair St. Clair kind of surprised me. She kind of went for Angina, saying, well, that's not how an all-star should be. You should have confidence all the time. Well, la-di-da. Thank goodness India Farah broke it all up by wanting to talk to the bottom queens, and she started by talking to Derek Barry. And although Derek made a very good case for why she wanted to stay, and even though India seemed to be very, very receptive and believed what Derek was saying, there was not a minute in my head that I did not think India Farah was voting Derek Barry's little butt out of there. I'm just saying. While all that was going on, Mayhem Miller pleaded her case to the other queens, saying that she felt she had more to offer than Derek Barry. And although that may be true, it's still an empty threat after her lackluster season, I'm just saying. Add to that this performance? I don't see it, I'm just saying. Derek, on the other hand, felt that her performance had gone much better than Angina's, even though Alexis and Blair thought she was doing Britney the entire time. They didn't hear any other voices. They just thought it was Britney Spears. And poor Derek, God bless. You know, I get the frustration. Britney Spears is so iconic, and Derek looks so much like her. I mean, on one hand, I'm sure none of Derek's fans or Britney's fans want Derek to do anything other than Britney because they love her so much. But on the other hand, if he's so worried about breaking out of that Britney box, then why isn't he wearing different makeup? Why isn't he wearing different wigs? Like, just stop wearing long blonde wigs, period. I mean, if he were wearing like Elizabeth Taylor caftans and turbans, he would look different, for sure. But that's just my opinion, I'm just saying. India's conversation with Mayhem went very well from a strategic point of view, because Mayhem had brought up the fact that if India did not vote her out, that, well, in the same situation down the road, she may be able to return the favor. Now, we all know India was voting Derek out. Mayhem was safe, but she didn't know that. And I think that this was a smart play on India's part to just put somebody in her back pocket, just a little safety precaution for later that cost her nothing to do. Seriously, good for you, India. Way to strategize, just saying. And then the queens had to vote. And by that I meant go to the bathroom. Wasn't it a bathroom? Isn't that where they were? It looked like a bathroom. And can I just have a moment to say, they had a lot of nerve putting that picture of RuPaul up on that wall. I mean, I know they weren't aware of what was going to happen with the quarantine and everything when they filmed this. But God, I wish Ru had worn that face kini over that latex mask for the reunion and the finale for season 12. I mean, I that's just a way better look. I would have accepted that over that other look. But I digress. We didn't actually see any of the queens pick a name except for, well, Juju. She said she was picking Mayhem Miller, and she did. But the rest of the names, well, they were all a mystery. And so once India picked her name, all the queens returned to the main stage for the lip sync extravaganza. And who was India Farah's secret lip sync assassin? Well, none other than Evie Oddly. And if Evie had come, if I were there to lip sync and it was Evie, I would just be like, done. Okay, I'll go home. That's it. She's going to win. I would have just been like, fine. No offense to India or anything, but she was feeling her oats after her big first challenge win, so she was all smiles and ready to go. And I have to say, I'm never a huge fan when drag queens have to sing to a male-voiced song, but they sang to Ricky Martin's Living La Vida Loca, and it was spectacular. They both did an excellent job, but I didn't like India's dress. I felt it was too ruffly. She looked kind of like an amoeba or something moving around. But she did a great job. She danced it out. But she was up against Evie Oddly. Evie Oddly, with her goggles and her neon wig, and then she did that deep, long backflip and came up and the ponytails were gone. She took off the goggles, she had that makeup on. And all the time, not really doing anything too big. And then she also took off whatever the dress was. She had the whole outfit on underneath, and then she let her freak flag fly. She was bent over backwards, twisting. Oh, it was just, I love watching Evie Oddly perform because it is true art. But there's a little part of me, because she talked about her medical condition. The reason that she's so flexible is also down the road in her life going to be a problem with her mobility and such. So there's a moment now where I do really enjoy watching her be all that she can be, but there's these moments where I think, oh, the cost. So I just, I don't mean to bring everyone down. I'm just saying that's always a concern with me when I see Evie Oddly, because I just love her so much. I think she's so talented. And clearly so did Rue, because it was no surprise to anyone. Evie Oddly won. Did she win the 10,000? No. I think she should have got the 10,000. If I were the secret lip sync assassin and I didn't get the 10,000, I'd be a little upset. But no, what they're doing with the 10,000 is if the queen doesn't win and the lip sync assassin does, well, then the prize money gets rolled over. If they stack up the first half of the show with really, really good lip sync assassins, that tip could be almost as much as the prize money for RuPaul's Drag Race if they don't watch out. I'm just saying. Regardless of India not winning or not, she was still safe as the top queen of the week. And who had the other queens voted out? Well, Derek Barry. And, as much as everyone agreed that Derek shouldn't have been in the bottom, clearly everyone likes Mayhem Miller more. And there's just another little life lesson right there for Ms. Derek Barry on why you should try to win friends and influence people. It's just frustrating to see somebody make their own life harder. So there you go. The first episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 5 is done and dusted. What did you think? You think the right queen went home? Would you have rather Ongina had gone home? What about Mayhem? What about next week? Do you think Ongina and Mayhem should be worried? Well, all we can do is tune in to RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 5 next week to find out. And then when you're done, you come on back and you see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, before you go, make sure you like my video. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, what the heck is wrong with you? Seriously, click. Click. It's super duper easy. It costs you nothing. I am just saying. Speaking of costing you nothing, well, YouTube is free. But if you do want to tip me, well, you can leave me a tip on PayPal, or you can sponsor me on Patreon, or you can even buy one of my fabulous little objets off of Redbubble. All the links are down below. And until next week, miss me. Mwah! Seriously, Jorge, this vanilla Luzon is delicious.